What's going on, everyone? My name is Dalton Deerdorf, and you are following me in my journey. I've got 145 days left until the U.S. Open local qualifier at Running Deer Golf Club just outside of Glassboro, New Jersey. So let's get right to it. U.S. Open Championship qualifiers. What does it take to get ready? As I said, I've got 145 days to get ready. Look at this beauty, Trevor Larson. Love to see you, bud. We're going to go through a preparation plan of what it looks like, what my golf game looks like, what my physical fitness looks like, and we're going to put a plan together tonight, live on Instagram, to look at 145 days out and be ready for this U.S. Open qualifier, for the local qualifier up at Running Deer. So I put together a full physical and golf game assessment, which I'm in the works of getting out. It'll be free to everyone online once I finalize kind of the little details and the onesie twosies of how I want you guys to actually take this. But let's start right off with the physical assessment and overall fitness. As you guys know, I've been very committed over the last couple months with getting back into the gym, but I've still got a long way to go. So I started off that overall fitness question or assessment by asking myself what my current fitness level was. And I started a scale 1 through 10 for basically everything on this assessment. So I tried to rank everything from a 1 to a 10, a 1 being extremely bad, like couch potato for your fitness level, and a 10 being pro or Olympic athlete. And I did that the whole way through. Whether it was golf-related stuff or physical fitness, I did 1 through 10 just to try and have like a round number to assess and move the scale as I go through the next couple months here. So I rated myself a 6, and the 6 out of 10 for physical fitness took into account flexibility. It took into account overall strength. It took into account conditioning. I just ran a 5K yesterday and I hurt. So I think from a conditioning standpoint, I've got a lot of room to work with as well. But then I broke that physical fitness down, right? I did 1 through 10 and gave myself an overall a 6 out of 10 for physical fitness. But then I started breaking it down into upper body strength, core stability, flexibility, lower body strength, endurance, balance, and then injury concerns. I think the number one thing when you're looking 4 months out is, do you have to heal from anything? Do you have to get better in an injury that might have been plaguing you in years past? So let's start with upper body strength. Again, 1 through 10 for everything that I scaled out here. I gave myself a 7.5 for upper body strength. I think I'm not trying to be, a power lifter here. So I'm trying to keep this all in perspective of professional golf athletes. I think, you can look at Bryson or you can look at Brooks, Koepka, and they're the anomalies. So I'm trying to look at what the overall upper body strength goal is, first and foremost. And then from that, I consider myself to be a 7.5. So happy with that. Can I get better? Absolutely. I would like to see some of my bench numbers get better. I would like to see, some of my kind of upper body pull movements get a little bit better in specific to the golf swing itself. Number 2, core stability. Put myself as a 6 out of 10. I think I've got a ton of work to do in the core stability. And when you look at playing tournament golf, almost every motion comes from your core and really revolves around your core. So I don't have a 6-pack abs. I don't have the strength, I don't think, to have the 6-pack abs yet. So that's always been a goal of mine. And I think, that would be the 10, right? To have this awesome core and to really build around that core. So got a lot of work to do in the core stability area. Next on the list under physical fitness, flexibility. I put myself at a 5.5. I historically have insanely tight hips. I have, typically I think when you look at the greater range of motion of the golf swing, I'm probably on the tighter side. So that's going to be a big thing, and we'll get into it down here a little bit longer in this assessment, this golf game assessment that includes physical fitness and the golf game itself. What does it mean to be flexible in the game of golf? So 3, lower body strength. I gave myself an 8.5 there. What that means for the golf game, right? Like your core and your legs are your big drivers of the golf swing. And I feel like I do a really good job of driving a lot of the distance in my golf game. But as you're getting ready through this entire assessment, and you got to be honest with yourself. When you're looking at a situation like this where you're 4 months out from tournament golf, you got to be honest, because 4 months is a lot of time. You can get a lot done in the gym. You can get a lot done in the golf course in 4 months' time. So I gave myself an 8.5 out of 10 for lower body strength there. I think it still leaves some room for improvements. I would obviously love to get more explosive in the lower body, and that really we'll talk about a little later, of doing golf-specific explosive moves to get better in the gym. 5, endurance. I gave myself a 6 out of 10 on endurance. Like I said, I just ran a 5K yesterday. Not the greatest showing in the world. Struggled, especially down the stretch, and that's only 3.3 miles. So I think big on the list of things to do coming down the next 4 months. Get more running in. Get more distance running in. When we're on the golf course and we're walking 4 to 7 miles sometimes, depending on the distance in between golf holes, depending on the terrain. It can be strenuous, especially if you're pairing 36 holes together over 2-day span. So got some work to do in the endurance area. Gave myself a 6 out of 10 there. Balance, also gave myself a 6 out of 10 there. I think when it comes to the golf swing itself, I've got great balance, but when you look at like the isolated moves in the gym, when you isolate the right leg versus the left leg, and you kind of get on that iso ball and you try and balance, I've struggled with that. So I think when you look at the golf swing itself, I do a good job of it, but overall and in movements in the gym, I can get a lot better. And I think that's exciting, because as I'm going through this list, and this is just the physical side of the game, I see a lot of areas that are 5.5, 6s, even 7s, that if I can work up into like the 8.59 range, you can get really, really solid across the board physically in the game of golf. So next one, injury concerns. I'm really at a 9.5 out of 10 there, which means I feel pretty strong about the injuries that maybe have lingered in the past. I did have a bad ankle injury in 2021 that limits my mobility just in the ankle itself, like flexion-wise, so this way. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty strong, which is a great feeling to have. But, if you were someone that was down around the 4 or 4.5, nothing else matters here on lower body strength or endurance until you fix that injury concern, right? Rehab is number one before you address any of the other physical concerns, because you want to get that part of your body healthy so you can start attacking the agility and the speed and explosiveness. Last one on the list, hand-eye coordination, 8.75, and I'll be honest, I didn't know how to grade that one. I feel like I've got pretty good hand-eye coordination, but I haven't done any of those like fancy tests or things to like tell if I'm a very good hand-eye coordinated person. I think because I golf so much and I have success in other sports, and I have good hand-eye coordination. So if anyone in the comments has a good idea of how to test hand-eye coordination, definitely let me know. Throughout this whole process, and why I'm doing this all is not really for myself getting ready for the U.S. Open qualifier, but to really start to fine-tune how I think high-level golfers should prepare for tournament golf. And, with my new coaching position, I think I'm trying to do as much research now so that when I have students come in, I know how to prepare them the best way possible through trial and error of every little detail along the way to get them ready to play tournament golf at a high level, not just regionally around Salisbury, but across the nation. So moving back into this physical fitness, I gave myself a 1 through 10 on the topics we just covered. And then I broke it down from there, right? We kind of went back to the top and said, how can I focus on cardiovascular? How can I focus on incorporating certain exercises to get better at that? So we'll jump back into endurance and stamina. How is your cardiovascular fitness? Well, I ran a 5K in 28 minutes. It hurt. It wasn't great. I have run a marathon before. So can we get better at that? I think we can. So I think, starting to incorporate more treadmill work, more actually running outside work, along with, 3 to 4 times a week of getting better at getting in the groove of running longer periods and not just like running quarter-mile sprints and calling it a day. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I can start doing, and it'll add to how we start to put the plan together for 145 days from now, seeing success and peaking. So on the back end of that, what's my plan for managing fatigue during the tournament? So this is all questions I've written down, guys, and it's the formula, like I said, of which once I fine-tune this here over the next couple weeks, I'll put it out online. It'll be free to everyone, any tournament golfer that wants to utilize this kind of prep sheet to assess themselves and see what they need to get better at within a timely manner before their tournaments. I would highly suggest to do so. So my plan for managing fatigue during tournaments, I think a lot of it is obviously this work in the gym, but something we'll talk about later as well is nutrition and rest and proper hydration and feeding and fueling yourself, 2 days beforehand, 72 hours beforehand. James, Rocky, what's up, guys? Appreciate you joining. For those of you guys who just joined or maybe didn't see what we got started here, I'm going through basically my U.S. Open local qualifier preparation plan. So I'm creating this checklist of sorts of an assessment for both the physical, fitness level and the golf game, because I'm 145 days out from being ready to play a U.S. Open local qualifier, and I think I'm trying to fine-tune how all high-level tournament players can get better and assess their game leading into a tournament round. So again, we just talked about managing fatigue during the tournament flexibility, during the tournament. Next, we'll talk about flexibility and assessing the flexibility, the core and shoulders. So, one of the big questions I asked is, have I incorporated a dynamic stretching routine before every round, right? Before every tournament round? And the answer to that is no. So part of my plan will be looking at how I get better from a flexibility standpoint, even right before a round. I think, even when I played college golf, it was kind of just, okay, let's stretch the legs, let's stretch the arms. But there wasn't a rhyme or reason to it. And the more I'm figuring out tournament golf is, the more things you can create that's familiar the morning of your tournament, the better you're going to be, because it's just comfortable. It's just routine. So we'll definitely be looking at how to create that stretching routine before each round. Moving into injury prevention, right? If you have an injury, who are you working with to get that injury taken care of? And then on top of that, what is your recovery routine? And I think recovery is a huge part in golf, especially in tournament golf, that's not talked about enough. And it really has to do with, again, refueling yourself when it comes to nutrition. What are you eating after the tournament round? Are you staying hydrated? And then recovery along the second half of that, of what are you doing, maybe stretching? What are you doing to recover? Are you getting in the ice bath? Are you getting any kind of treatment? Are you using a Theragun? Are you working on the muscles that you just used for 5.5 hours? And how are you getting better at that? So that really takes care of the physical attributes part of this preparation, guys. We're going to jump into mental assessment. And really, I think the second quarter of this assessment that I've put together to get ready for tournament golf at a high level. So in this mental assessment, we go over concentration and focus. We go over confidence building, pre-shot routine, and stress management. I think these are all things to ask yourself when you're a tournament golfer of, how do I get better at, and am I good at it right now? And if I'm not, what can I do to get better at it? So we'll start